Bearmac Land Rover Parts are proud sponsors of Land Rovers Live, bringing you all the best parts of the 4x4 world. Hi and welcome to this week's edition of Land Rovers Live. As always, I'm Matt, and coming up on today's show, we find out how the Churchill connection lives on within Champagne. Then later, we discover what goes into making our seats. And Land Rovers Live Owners Club. But first, the news. Now, if you have a hankering for a Landy but your feet are too short to touch the pedals, maybe you just haven't passed your driving test yet, well, Special Vehicles have got you covered. Unveiled at this year's Hamburg Motor Show is the Pedal Defender. That's right, a pedal defender. Its fuel economy is vastly improved upon the current range of Defender. That said, this is not to be confused with the Defender replacement. These will be available from next summer at a hefty, eye-watering £10,000, and looks like the guys at Special Operations have had a bit of a quiet week. Then, if you're a gangster, drug dealer, or you've got people making unwelcome advances at you regularly, good news. The new Range Rover Sentinel is available now. If you haven't seen one of these before, which you may or may not have, you shouldn't be able to tell the difference. These vehicles are an incredibly highly armoured version of the Range Rover. They come with very thick glass and all sorts of different gizmos and gadgets inside. Now, we're not allowed to say too much about what goes into it, but needless to say, they are ballistic proof. You can shoot them with more or less anything that you want to. They have underbody protection as well, so if you go over small mines and things, you should be okay, and you shooting out the tyres won't make a difference because they can run for a long time without such things. These things are available as well. The current users of these are members of the royal family, and indeed we saw when we were down at Special Vehicles a while ago, we saw a member of the royal family's Range Rover which was in force service. And you can shout as loud as you like from the outside of the vehicle, you cannot be heard from the inside. They are very impressive bits of kit. Now, last weekend was the Land Rover Owner International Peterborough show. Many of you went up there and it was a great show by all accounts. There are loads of videos online and we will publish some over the next few weeks, so be sure to check out our website. Coming up this weekend is our last big show of the season, the Adventure Overland Show. If you haven't been to this show before, it's not dedicated solely towards Land Rovers, but we will be there bringing you seminars live over the entire weekend. There'll be some great talks from Sam Watson, Toby Savage, and many, many others as well. So do stay tuned for that. For more information on the Adventure Overland Show, do check out their website. We'll put the links on the screen, and there are still tickets and camping available for the weekend. And of course, if there's anything else that you think we're missing or would like us to know, or questions that you want us to put to our panellists, do get in touch with us on Facebook and or Twitter, or via our website. We'll put some links on the screen for that, but we like hearing from you. Now, we're about to induct our latest member into the Land Rovers Live Owners Club.
This vehicle, nicknamed Sally, is my camper van. Bought her about 10 years ago. She'd been a builder's wagon, nothing inside, matte green, ripped seats, just a base vehicle. From that we had a good service, got a specialist to look over and make sure the chassis and everything was sound, and following on from that we went to Foley Specialist Vehicles and had the roof fitted. That's the extent of the work they did inside. The rest of that's my own fair hand. When my husband got one, he got me into the bug. He encouraged me to try and drive his, and I thought, no, if I bend his, he'll get really upset. So he actually bought me a dirty weekend for Valentine's, as in an off-roading course. So did a day's off-roading, well and truly bitten, wanted my own. But I didn't want exactly the same vehicle as my husband had. Most of the work has been on the inside, making it comfortable and making it so that it really is just grab the clothes and the food and the beer and we're off. A lot of it is the fittings. I fitted cabinets that are lockable, so when we do go off-roading the contents stay in the cupboards. We've got a fridge, we've got a sink, a tap, onboard water. I've got a 2-ring cooker so I can cook family meals. Even got space for the porta potty. That always makes people laugh that I've got my toilet, but it does mean you can go on campsites where you need your own facilities. Go to Wales quite a lot. Done a fair bit of laning there. Up to Derbyshire. She's been a support vehicle on Duke of Edinburgh trips when my husband's been helping out with sixth formers, and we've used this as our base vehicle. We've also been to the Alps, so down through France, French Alps, Swiss Alps, Italian Alps, doing quite a bit of rough terrain driving on the way. Been to the Pyrenees, so again down through France, so just generally touring Europe. A 110 isn't a massive vehicle. A lot of people would choose a 130, but when we bought Sally, we simply didn't have space to park a 130, and I kind of wanted to prove what you could do with a 110.
And don't forget, if you would like to be featured on Land Rovers Live Owners Club, do get in contact with us. Maybe you have a restoration that you've just finished, or there's a series vehicle that's been in the family for a very long time, then we would love to hear from you. We'll put the links on the screen, but you can get in touch with us on Facebook and or Twitter. Now, special vehicle operations. It's a secret division of Land Rover, which we don't know very much about. But what we do know is they've turned out some of the craziest vehicles that Land Rover have ever made. The Range Rover SVR, for example, the fastest heavy vehicle there ever was. The pedal car that we mentioned earlier, as well as the Range Rover Sentinel. And now they've turned their hands to what can only be described as a champagne bar.
We could have bought a Land Rover off the shelf, whether it be a Range Rover or a Discovery or something else in the stable. I think what was important to us was that we didn't just go and buy something and then put some branding on the side of it. That goes against, I think, the whole ethos of Paul Roger and I think of where we are heading in the United Kingdom. We were after something which our company could rally round in terms of speaking to the consumer about a lot of our values that we hold very dear. We work with a number of small brands in the United Kingdom which are based around sort of a handcrafted and bespoke mentality, and I think the Land Rover, what we've created here with Land Rover definitely speaks about that. We wanted to do something that was exceptional. I think personally, I grew up with Defenders, and I think they have a lot of charm to them, and a lot of people around the world can identify with a Defender. We went to Special Vehicle Operations for a very sort of unique collaboration to do something that would stretch them and be something different. There was nothing that was insurmountable. There were certainly difficulties, but I think that's what made it more interesting to us, and certainly to the Special Vehicles team. They were interested in sort of pushing themselves in terms of design and also structural issues as well. We have a very close relationship with the Churchill family and with the Paul Roger family. The United Kingdom happens to be the strongest market in the world for Paul Roger champagne. The British have always had a very strong relationship with champagne in general, and the Churchill family certainly have been enjoying Paul Roger since 1908, which our first records really began of Churchill buying our champagne. Churchill drove a Land Rover many years ago. They was actually given a present by Land Rover, which he drove around Chartwell, which I think he had some special editions put to it, like they did for this Land Rover. Churchill had something where he had a strong box in the back, which he would keep his paint pots in apparently, and he also had a heated footwell, which I think was probably one of the first modern additions to keep his feet warm. But although outside we'd like to do some interesting items to it, we thought that also ought to be subtle on the outside and quite interesting on the inside, and we felt that's where the interest would lie from some of our consumers and customers and Land Rover enthusiasts alike. So we decided to speak to Special Vehicles and ask them what they could do. We decided to have one map of the United Kingdom and one map of the Champagne region in France, on there, because for two different reasons. For the fact that Pol Roger and United Kingdom and London are very strong and very closely linked, and also in the fact that Champagne and the United Kingdom is very closely linked. And just that, we did some door handle work and also some grab handle work on the front as well. So that was unique. We thought that was very special. We also spoke to them about what the theory behind the vehicle would actually be, that we needed it to carry items as part of the whole experience, which we worked with a number of companies like Holland & Holland and various others to help us with the whole experience, which is a sort of a safari style outlay. And we had worked with companies to ship from South Africa and India authentic and vintage products, which would clearly sort of show which way we were going. So it needed to look great, but it needed to be 100% functional, because the Land Rover has a number of dates around the country and it will be used heavily. It won't be mollycoddled and wrapped in cotton wool.
Bearmac Land Rover Parts are proud sponsors of Land Rovers Live, bringing you all the best parts of the 4x4 world. Welcome back to part 2 of Land Rovers Live. Before the break, we inducted a new member into Land Rovers Live Owners Club and had a look at the special vehicle from Pol Roger. Now, we're going to delve inside the main point of contact for humans and their cars. One day, if it hasn't happened to you already, then it soon will. A twinge in the behind and it's all downhill from there. Whilst the tyres are the only thing holding your vehicle to the ground, your bum is the only contact point for you. Worn seats make for a very uncomfortable time at the helm, and eventually all seats will wear. It's the sort of patina you can really live without, as a compressed bass leads to backache, or you find yourself sitting lower and lower. But it doesn't have to be this way, and this week we visited the picturesque corner of Exmoor to find out about seats and upholstery.
At Exmoor Trim, we do a wide and varied selection of seating upholstery, anything from genuine OEM seating supplies, so the original spec parts as we've got, replacements through our own seating manufacturer. We do obviously bespoke seatwear, and then obviously hoods and hood stick sets, components, and all the bits and pieces that hold all your hood together on your Land Rover. Everyone gets seatwear, all normal cars get seatwear. The vinyls in the early series Land Rovers obviously corrode and crack and suffer with UV light. They go hard and brittle and they just break up. So we do either new replacement complete seat sets. If you're lucky enough to have an early, probably Series 2 going into the 2As, some of the seat sets were sprung. And we've recently launched a restoration service for these seats, because obviously they're worth preserving. Our seats are very good. The foams in the Series 1 seating is made to original specification, but the slightly later ones, the sprung ones, we still use foam inside our series seating. So if you're lucky enough to have sprung seats, obviously it makes a bit of a difference to your ride. As probably everybody knows, in a series it's not the most comfortable thing in the world. If you just want to refurb your one seat base that's collapsed, you can buy just a foam. If your cover's still in good condition, obviously you can take the cover off and put the cover back on. You can buy just a foam and just a base cover. You don't have to buy the whole lot. So you can just retrim the one base cover, new foam in it, and it'll feel like a million times better than what you've already got if it's collapsed completely. And then going on from there, we do retrim kits. So you've got a single seat retrim kit, so that's a back foam, a base foam, a back cover, a base cover, and a headrest cover. and then obviously you can buy a headrest foam if required. Quite often they're all right though, so you don't need to go that bad. Bespoke seating certainly has become a very large part of what we do. Whether you want logos embroidered in your headrests of your standard seats, or whether you're going for red and black leather seats with embroidery in them, with piping around them, we can pretty much tailor anything to suit. We hold as many of the original fabrics as we can, so we still hold sort of 6 or 7 of the Defender trims. Everything's based on original pattern work, so everything is tailored to fit the vehicle. We're not just sticking some Defender runners or something, some mini seats or something like that to make them fit. They are designed to go in a Defender.
So it's clear we can get more or less anything that one could desire in a seat. So let's see how these things are made.
Our cutting process is done first. With the cutting machines, what we're after is some sort of consistency to our work. Although everything is still handmade as such, the sewing machinists are still sewing it individually. The cutting machine allows us to make sure that everything is as much the same as physically we can do. So if you buy a cover this week, it should be exactly the same as a cover that we supply to you next week. They will all be cut off the same pattern. And then the upholstery is moved down to our sewing machinists. They are sat in a little sewing room down at the end. And then the trimming is taken here by, obviously there's sort of 7 or 8 staff here that are trimming seats pretty much 5 days a week, all day. There's various amounts of seats that go on, whether it's bespoke leather trim or somebody's just denim twill Defender bases. It's all handmade here, cut here, made here, sewn here and trimmed here. So a skilled sort of work base all the way through the company.
And whether we have new or aging seats in our vehicles, what problems or signs should we be looking out for?
You certainly want to keep on top of the seating arrangement. There's obviously metalwork inside the seat frame. In the event of a crash, you wouldn't want the metal bar in the bottom of the back running into your spine. So obviously if your foams have completely collapsed to nothing and you've just got the cover over the top of the framework, it's not going to be very comfortable in any off-roading stroke crash situation. Most Defenders leak inside, whether you've got a soft top or you've got a hard top on them. So if you can keep an eye on corrosion around, obviously the mounting points on the seats, keep that down to a minimum. That's probably the biggest tip, is to just make sure that the seats frames are in good order. Obviously if the rear lug points break away, obviously instantly in the event of a crash you've weakened the seat straight away. So that again, that's a replacement part that is easy to correct. Basically what you're looking at for safety wise really is some sort of certificate for impact testing. As I've said before, all of our seats meet Impact 1 test regulations. They go off to Millbrook Test Ground. It's not held in-house. They go off to a test centre. They're tested officially, and that's our front seats, our second row seats, and our load area seats. Certainly all for Defender. Anything that we've made all go off for the testing. And if you're buying a seat, obviously that's the bit that's stopping you in a crash. That's the bit you're leaning against in a crash. That's the bit that you're forced against in a crash. And they want to be good. You don't want something that's going to shear in half as you're flung forward or flung backwards into it. So it's got to meet a good crash regulation. Land Rovers don't have airbags. They don't have modern crumple zones. This is why they're stopping production on Land Rover. They don't meet EEC, EU regulations, worldwide regulations. Just on the fact that they're not particularly crash friendly. They're not particularly pedestrian friendly if you run somebody over. They're not particularly driver friendly if you're the occupant. There's no airbag in the steering wheel. There's certainly no passenger airbags, and nothing side impact protection wise. You've got no curtain airbags, anything like that. So very important, obviously, that the best seat you can have possible. Same with our seat belts. All the seat belts meet EEC regulations. They're all type approved, and again, same thing with that.
And throughout this series, we'll be getting more industry insights into the companies who keep our vehicles running. If you think there's a section that we haven't covered, or there's something you'd like to see, do get in touch with us. The usual ways apply on our website, on Facebook and on Twitter. So we'll put some links on the screen for that. As well as that, over coming weeks, we will be producing and reviewing all the latest offerings, gizmos and products from those companies as well, so do stay tuned. As well as that, don't forget we are at the Adventure Overland show this weekend, so if you're there, do stop by and say hi. If you're not, no matter, you will not miss out. We will be live streaming seminars for the entire weekend. Just go onto our website to see those, and indeed they'll be there forever and a day. And finally this week it was Ronnie Morn's birthday from YRM Metal Solutions, so we will leave you with a short clip of Ronnie at the billing show talking to Ben Gribbin. As always, there's plenty more of this on our website, so do check that out.
What are the benefits of using stainless steel fixings?
Benefits is you put them on, in a few years time you can get them off, then as well just put some copper slip or some light oil just over them as well when fitting them, just to make it easier, then nothing rubs and you can get them back off as well.
Okay. And it's not going to corrode, is it? So basically in like 2 or 3 years time you come to undo something, it's just going to undo nice and easy.
Yeah, exactly. I did another 90 a few years ago, and that all comes together nice and easy still.
So you guys now pretty much supply every fixing on the vehicle now, yeah?
Yeah, getting there. There's only a couple left, but if somebody used to email me or get in touch saying they've got a 110 2008 Defender on a whatever chassis, if it's original, Marsden's or Richards, I can supply them all the nuts and bolts and recommend what they need.
Brilliant. So if you're rebuilding your Land Rover and you're after some new fixings, email Ronnie and he'll sort you out with pretty much everything that you need, and your car will last so much longer.
Bearmac Land Rover Parts are proud sponsors of Land Rovers Live, bringing you all the best parts of the 4x4 world.